In 2014, Lena Foster disappeared from Cleveland, leaving nothing but a bloody stain in her car. No one could understand why. Was it just a tragic accident? Or was it something far worse? For 8 years, her family waited for answers. But when the truth finally surfaced, it exposed a network of crime and corruption that no one could have imagined. Stay with us as we unravel the mystery and uncover the chilling details of what happened to Lena. It was a cold winter evening on March 18, 2014, in Cleveland, Ohio. Lena Foster, a 36-year-old graphic designer, had just finished a long day at work. The weight of the day behind her, she decided to stop by the local pharmacy on her way home. She slipped into her coat, adjusted her scarf, and walked briskly through the snow-covered streets. Her boots crunched on the fresh snow, the only sound breaking the winter silence. With each step, the distance between her and the familiar warmth of home grew smaller. But something felt off. She didn't know it yet, but this would be the last time anyone would see Lena Foster alive. A car pulls into view, parked under the glow of a streetlight, its engine still running. Lena's car. The silence that follows is deafening. The kind of silence that settles over a small town when something's wrong. Lena's car, parked but unmanned. The door left ajar. Her phone, gone. A bloodstain on the driver's seat. Questions swirl in the cold air, like the snowflakes falling around her car. What happened here? Did she leave in a hurry, or was something much darker at play? This was the last time anyone would see Lena Foster alive. Her life, her work, her future, all slipped away that night without a trace. The town of Cleveland Heights would never be the same. Was it an accident? Or something far worse? The mystery begins to unfold, and what follows will make you question everything you thought you knew. Lena Foster was never seen again. Her family, her friends, the entire town would be left searching for answers, struggling to piece together what happened. But the search for the truth was only just beginning. And the story? It's far from over. But as we dig deeper into this case, there's a lesson we can all take away, something that could save a life. Keep watching, because what you're about to learn could make a difference in protecting your loved ones from becoming a victim. Before I begin, tell me, where are you watching from, and what time is it right now? Drop it in the comments below. The days stretch on, each one heavier than the last. Lena's family, her mother, Sandra, a retired school teacher, and her younger brother Paul, a mechanic, struggles with a void that seems to grow by the hour. The search continues, but with every passing day, the hope fades, and the truth remains elusive. Sandra keeps setting the dinner table every night. 2 plates, 2 glasses of water, but the third, Lena's seat, remains empty. The coffee cups sit cold, untouched. Her mother stares at the empty chair, willing it to be filled. But no one comes. Every evening, the silence grows heavier. The grief is suffocating. She tells herself Lena will walk through the door. She must. She's always come back before. But this time, the reality begins to set in. There's no sign of Lena. No call, no text, just an empty seat at the table. And for Sandra, it feels as though the weight of the world has pressed down on her chest. How do you survive when the person you love most in the world simply disappears? Paul's frustration grows as the investigation stalls. He watches the police effort slow to a crawl, while his mother's heart continues to break. But he won't accept that this is how it ends. The unknown is eating him alive. Paul knows his family can't just wait in the dark. He refuses to sit idly by. He won't let his sister's disappearance fade into the background like so many others do. So, he begins his own investigation. The phone calls, the emails, the late nights on the computer. He hires private investigators. He reaches out to anyone who might know something, anyone who might have seen something. Social media becomes his tool, his weapon against the unknown. Lena's face is everywhere. Her name is a constant. He'll keep her alive in the world's memory, even if the authorities won't. But what if the answers lay closer to home than anyone thought? What if the truth isn't buried in some distant corner of the town, but hidden under their noses all along? Paul's relentless pursuit will soon reveal that this case is far from ordinary. Just when the case seemed to stall, when hope appeared all but lost, a breakthrough. An unexpected tip-off arrives. A new lead, something small yet significant, comes into focus. Could this finally be the breakthrough they've been waiting for? Or is it another dead end? The case is about to take a shocking turn, one that no one could have seen coming. And the investigation? It's far from over. If you think Lena's family deserves answers, give this video a thumbs up. No one should have to live in silence when a loved one goes missing. Only those who side with the silence won't like this video. The tip comes in just as the investigation seems to stall. An anonymous voice, a whisper in the dark. It suggests that Lena's best friend, Lauren, might know more than anyone realized. The shock hits hard. Lena and Lauren had been inseparable. They'd spent countless hours together, sharing laughter, secrets, and even heartache. But now, the unthinkable is being suggested. Could Lauren, someone so close to Lena, be involved in her disappearance? The investigators follow the trail. They dig deeper into Lena's last known moments, examining everything from text messages to witness statements. And then they uncover it. The heart-wrenching betrayal. Lauren had been secretly dating Lena's boyfriend, a man Lena trusted, a man who had claimed to be devastated by her disappearance. And yet, unbeknownst to Lena, he had been involved with her best friend, the same person who had been there the night she vanished. The revelation is devastating. Lena's family, who had believed in the bond between the two women, is now forced to face the painful truth. Could the person they trusted the most, someone who shared Lena's life, be the reason she disappeared? How do you cope with the possibility that the person you counted on could betray you in such a way? The family's grief, already raw and unrelenting, now has to carry the weight of this suspicion. The love, the trust, the shared history now tarnished by a dark secret. How could Lauren, someone who'd been through so much with Lena, betray her like this? The psychology behind betrayal is complex, layered. Could Lauren's guilt and jealousy have pushed her to act in a way that changed everything? Or was there something more, something darker at play? Betrayal isn't always as simple as it seems. But the question remains, could Lena's disappearance truly be the result of this betrayal? Could Lauren have done something so sinister to her best friend? But just as quickly as the shock settles, another question emerges. Could Lauren have been involved in Lena's disappearance? Or is there something even darker beneath the surface? The truth, it seems, is still out of reach. Investigators decide to dig deeper. They turn to Lauren's house, her private space, the place where secrets often remain hidden. They find something there, something that could change everything. Evidence is uncovered. Evidence that could either clear Lauren's name or condemn her. Was Lauren truly innocent, or was she complicit in something far more tragic? The search for answers leads to a place no one saw coming. The next step could either unravel the entire case or tighten the noose. As the investigation intensifies, it's clear the truth isn't what anyone thought it was. And Lauren's connection to the disappearance? It's just one piece of a much larger puzzle. Do you think Lauren could have been the one to betray Lena? Or was there something deeper at play? Share this video if you believe betrayal has no place in a friendship. Let's expose the truth together. It had been years. Years of fruitless searches, empty leads, and shattered hopes. But then, out of nowhere, there was a breakthrough. A spark of light in the darkness. The breakthrough came through forensic science. New technology, new methods. Something that wasn't available when the case first went cold. DNA analysis, more advanced, more precise, revealed something no one had expected. The blood found in Lena's car? It matched. Not to Lauren, not to anyone the police had previously considered suspects, but to Bobby Hayes, a local businessman. A man with a clean reputation, no criminal history, a shining image in the community. Bobby Hayes. The news hit like a punch to the gut. How could this man, someone who had never been linked to anything criminal, be involved in Lena's disappearance? He was the picture of success, the kind of man you'd never suspect in a million years. But the DNA didn't lie. It was his. Investigators dove deeper, unraveling the tangled threads of Bobby's life. They started looking into his past, his connections, his friends, his business dealings. And what they found wasn't pretty. Bobby Hayes wasn't just another successful businessman. No, he had ties to something far darker. An underground network. An operation hiding in plain sight. His clean reputation? It had been a mask, a carefully crafted illusion. Behind closed doors, Bobby was involved in illegal activities, something the community had never even imagined. The evidence started to build. A series of subtle connections that pointed to Bobby's involvement in something much worse than anyone could have guessed. The DNA, once just a random piece of evidence, now held the key to unraveling a dark mystery. Could this random DNA sample really be the breakthrough the case needed? Could it lead to a deeper, more terrifying truth about Bobby Hayes and his involvement in Lena's disappearance? The question now was clear. Was Bobby Hayes the one who had killed Lena? Or was he just another piece in a much larger, more dangerous puzzle? As the investigation deepened, the stakes grew higher, and Bobby's past began to catch up with him. The breakthrough led to a shocking revelation. Bobby Hayes wasn't just a businessman. He wasn't the friendly, upstanding man the town thought he was. No, Bobby Hayes was hiding something much more sinister. He was involved in something bigger, an underground human trafficking ring. The pieces were falling into place, one after another. And what investigators were uncovering sent shockwaves through the entire community. The truth was darker than anyone had imagined, and Bobby Hayes, he was at the center of it all. But the investigation was far from over. The shocking truth about Bobby Hayes was just the beginning. And as the story unfolds, it will reveal even more about the hidden network he was part of and the innocent victims who had no idea they were being targeted. Keep watching, because the next few chapters are going to reveal more about how to protect your family from hidden dangers. We've already uncovered some key warning signs, but there's more to this story. Trust me, what you'll learn in the next few minutes will be something you can act on to help keep your loved ones safe. Do you think Bobby Hayes was behind Lena's disappearance, or is there more to this story? Drop a comment below with your thoughts. I read and reply to every comment. It had started as something so innocent, a freelance job, a simple graphic design project for Bobby Hayes. But this seemingly harmless task, the creation of a few flyers, had unknowingly entangled Lena in something far more sinister. She had no idea, no inkling of the world she was about to be drawn into. Bobby, a man with a legitimate business, had a dark side, a side that no one suspected. Behind his charming demeanor and squeaky clean image, Bobby was running a human trafficking ring. And Lena, unwittingly, had become part of it. At first, it was just the flyers. But little did she know that this would lead her straight into the clutches of an underground network that preyed on vulnerable women. Bobby, using his business as a front, had used her someone he thought would be easy to manipulate. Lena had unknowingly crossed paths with Bobby's shady operation. She was just one piece in a larger puzzle. As investigators dug deeper, they uncovered the terrifying truth. Lena's disappearance was no accident. It wasn't a random act. She wasn't a victim of circumstance. She had been targeted. Bobby's trafficking network extended far beyond Cleveland. It wasn't just Lena, there had been other women, other victims, who had been quietly lured into Bobby's world. They were all caught in the same web, hidden in plain sight. Each one unknowingly dragged into a nightmare, just like Lena. The investigation had revealed something horrifying. The deeper they dug, the more victims they uncovered. Lena was just one of many who had been stolen away by Bobby's operation. And with each new victim, the weight of what Lena had been unknowingly involved in became clearer. For Lena's family, the realization hit like a ton of bricks. They had no idea. They had no idea their daughter, their sister, had been unknowingly walking into a trap. Lena's mother, Sandra, thought she was safe, thought her daughter was just working hard, doing what she loved. But all along, she had been targeted. She had been watched. Lena had fought. That much was clear. The forensic evidence, the bruises, the struggle. Lena had tried to fight back against the hell that had been thrust upon her. She had struggled. She had fought for her life. But the truth that she had been caught up in a web she never saw coming was too much for her family to bear. It wasn't just Lena who was hurt by this. It was the whole community, the people who knew her, who loved her, who trusted Bobby Hayes. The emotional toll on her family was staggering. They had been blindsided by the truth, by how deep the danger had run. How could they have missed it? How could they not have seen it? Lena had been so careful, so diligent, and yet she had been unaware of the predators circling around her. She had no idea she was being watched. No idea she was being targeted. Like so many others, Lena never suspected the danger lurking just beneath the surface. She was living her life working, going home, meeting her friends, never knowing that the man she had been working for was a monster hiding behind a mask. But Bobby had been watching. He had been keeping tabs on her, drawing her in little by little, and Lena had no idea. It was so easy for someone like Bobby to operate unnoticed. He was a businessman, a local figure in the community. No one suspected him. He had the perfect cover, the perfect disguise. And Lena was just another victim caught in his web. As the investigation continued, the detectives began to realize that this was no isolated incident. Lena's disappearance was just one thread in a much larger, more disturbing tapestry. There were more victims out there. More women who had been targeted. More families who had been torn apart, just like Lena's. And Bobby Hayes? He wasn't just some rogue businessman. He was part of a larger, underground operation, one that had been thriving for years. An operation that had been hidden under the very nose of the town that had trusted him. But the deeper the detectives dug, the more dangerous it became. The closer they got to the truth, the more dangerous it became for everyone involved. Who else was involved in Bobby's trafficking ring? And how deep did it go? What they were uncovering now would shake this community to its core, and no one was prepared for what came next. As the investigation moved forward, the pieces started falling into place, and with each new revelation came more shock. This wasn't just about one missing woman, it was about an entire operation running beneath the surface of a quiet town. But the true scope of Bobby's trafficking ring wasn't the only thing detectives were uncovering. There was one more detail, one more shocking twist, that no one saw coming. What would this final revelation mean for Lena's family? What would it mean for the community? And just how deep did Bobby's involvement in this underground world really go? The investigation would lead to a final confrontation, a confrontation no one saw coming. What secrets would the final breakthrough reveal? And who was really pulling the strings behind this operation? Stay tuned, because what comes next will change everything. If you believe crimes like these need to be stopped, hit subscribe now. We'll keep shining a light on the hidden dangers around us. Don't let silence protect the guilty. It's the kind of truth that cuts deeper than any physical wound. The revelation, Bobby Hayes, the businessman, the trusted community member, the man Lena had worked with for months, even trusted, had been hiding in plain sight. For weeks before Lena's disappearance, Bobby had been stalking her. He wasn't just some stranger waiting to strike. No, Bobby had been part of her daily life. He'd been watching her, following her movements, learning her habits. Everything seemed normal. Too normal. But under that surface, Bobby had been hiding his true intentions. He had been so close to Lena, and yet she had no idea. Her family had no idea either. They had trusted him, and that trust, now shattered, felt like a knife twisting in their hearts. Lena's mother, Sandra, had always seen Bobby as someone trustworthy. She had no reason to suspect him. And yet now, the painful truth was clear. Bobby had been stalking Lena, carefully watching her every move, waiting for the perfect moment to strike. He had been hiding in plain sight, behind the facade of a businessman. The same man who had shaken hands with Lena's family, who had smiled and joked with them, had been plotting her downfall from the shadows. Lena's brother, Paul, sat in disbelief. He had trusted Bobby too. They all had. And now, The betrayal cut deeper than any knife could. Bobby wasn't some random predator. No, he was someone Lena had interacted with every day. Someone who had been a constant in her life, only to turn into a monster who took everything from her. The realization hit hard. It was as if the rug had been pulled from under them, and they were left falling into a pit of uncertainty and fear. They had trusted the wrong person. The betrayal wasn't just in what Bobby did, it was in how close he had gotten to Lena's family. Bobby had woven himself into their lives, masking his true nature behind kindness and professionalism. No one saw it coming. Not Lena, not her family, no one. It was the perfect cover-up. Lena's family, especially Sandra, had thought Bobby was just another face in the community. He had been so normal, so friendly. He was the kind of man you wouldn't think twice about. But the truth left them shattered. How could they have been so blind? Paul struggled with anger and confusion. How could Bobby have done this? How could someone they trusted, someone they had seen as a friend, betray them in such a cruel and calculated way? It wasn't just Lena who had been taken. It was the family's trust, their peace, and their sense of safety. And that was a loss that would take much longer to heal. Bobby Hayes wasn't just hiding in the shadows, he had been lurking in their lives all along. The more they uncovered, the worse it became. Bobby had known Lena, had gotten close to her family, and he had used that trust against them. He had been hiding in plain sight. The realization that Bobby was the one who had been watching, planning, waiting hit hard. And just when they thought they had uncovered it all, the investigation would lead them to a shocking new discovery that would change everything. The story didn't end with Bobby's betrayal. No, it was just the beginning of a much darker tale. Just when Lena's family thought they were getting closer to the truth, something new emerged. A discovery that would shake everything they thought they knew. A breakthrough in the case. A final piece of the puzzle that would take them down a path no one saw coming. As the investigation continued, detectives found Lena's body. It wasn't in a place anyone would expect. It wasn't hidden in the shadows like Bobby's secret life had been. No, Lena's body was found in a secluded wooded area near the abandoned building where Bobby's operations had been taking place. The location was chilling, the scene eerie. The place where everything had happened, the place where Bobby had hidden his crimes, had now become the site of the final discovery. Lena's body was there, hidden from sight but never from the truth. And that truth was darker than anything Lena's family could have imagined. The discovery would lead detectives to the darkest corner of Bobby's operation, and it would uncover the full extent of his crimes, crimes that had been hidden right under the noses of the community. What else had Bobby been hiding? How deep did his operations go? Was he the only one involved, or was there a much larger conspiracy at play? This was only the beginning. The final pieces were falling into place, and everything was about to change. As the investigation took a shocking turn, more secrets were uncovered, ones that would forever alter the course of the case. But who else was involved? What had Bobby really been hiding? Stay tuned, the darkest truths are yet to be revealed. If you think people like Bobby Hayes deserve justice, give this video a like. Every step closer to the truth is a victory for the victims, and the more likes, the stronger our message becomes. After months of searching, endless questioning, and the quiet hope that Lena would one day return, the reality sets in. Lena's body is found. Not in a place anyone would expect. Not hidden far from the reach of the community, no, but in a secluded, wooded area near the abandoned building where Bobby Hayes had been hiding his secret operation. The discovery is both a relief and a tragedy. For the family, the anguish of waiting for answers is finally over. But no amount of closure could ever undo the damage done. Sandra, Lena's mother, collapses in disbelief, her hands trembling as she clutches the only tangible link to her daughter, her body, lying in the dirt of a place she never should have been. This wasn't supposed to happen. Lena was supposed to come home. The search had consumed the family's lives, had broken them, bit by bit, each day without their daughter dragging them deeper into a void of hopelessness. And now, after everything, they had found her, but the cost was too much. The forensic tests would confirm what everyone feared. It was Lena. The DNA evidence paints a haunting picture of her final moments. She had fought to survive, fought to get away, fought to make it out of the grip of the man who had hidden behind a mask of normalcy, lurking in the background of her life. There were traces of her DNA under Bobby's fingernails. Lena had tried to claw her way out of his grasp. She fought him with everything she had. And yet, it wasn't enough. The truth was undeniable now. Lena had been taken. She had fought. But in the end, Bobby had taken her life in a vicious, calculated attack. Sandra's grief is palpable. She feels the weight of every second, every breath that Lena should have taken. It's a weight that no mother should ever carry. Paul, Lena's younger brother, is left to pick up the shattered pieces of a life that was taken too soon. He had fought with her spirit for answers, pushing the investigation, demanding justice. And now, the answers were here, but the damage was done. They had closure. But it felt empty. Lena wasn't coming back. No amount of justice could ever fill the hole her absence left behind. The emotional toll is too great. Even with Bobby's arrest, even with the truth coming to light, the loss of Lena remains insurmountable. They could never unsee what had been done to her. They could never undo the pain. And yet, as much as they had uncovered, as many secrets as they had unraveled, what they didn't know was that the story wasn't over. The web of corruption they were about to uncover went deeper than anyone had anticipated. This case, as devastating as it was not the end of the road. It was only one chapter in a much larger story, a story that had yet to fully reveal itself. One final twist was coming. The case wasn't finished yet. The shock of the discovery was just the beginning. The biggest questions were still unanswered. Who else was involved in Bobby's operation? And how deep did this corruption run? The truth was far from over. And the final revelation was about to break the entire case wide open. As the investigation continues, new details begin to surface. The more the detectives uncover, the darker the picture becomes. It's not just Bobby anymore. The investigation uncovers even more shocking details about his operation, things no one had imagined were possible. But as the puzzle pieces fall into place, a chilling new discovery is made. Someone else was involved. Someone more dangerous. And they had been pulling the strings all along. This wasn't just about Bobby Hayes anymore. This was about a network, a dark and twisted operation that had been thriving in the shadows, undetected for years. The detectives, now facing a much larger conspiracy, realized that Bobby was just one small piece of the puzzle. And the true mastermind who had stayed hidden was still out there, watching, waiting, pulling the strings. The case was far from over. And the investigation had just begun. Who was the real mastermind behind this operation? And what were they willing to do to keep their secret hidden? Stay tuned, because the final twist is about to change everything. We're getting closer to the truth, and with it, the crucial steps that could have prevented this tragedy. Stay tuned, because what comes next will show you how to spot the signs early and take action before it's too late. If you think the truth should be shared, send this video to someone who needs to know. We're breaking open the lies that people like Bobby Hayes have built for years. The truth cannot stay hidden. As the investigation continues to unravel, a chilling truth comes to light. Bobby Hayes, the man whose betrayal shattered Lena's family, was not operating alone. The investigation reveals that Bobby's trafficking operation was just one piece of a much larger, far-reaching net. A network so vast, so hidden beneath the surface, that no one had ever suspected its existence until now. This wasn't just about one man. It wasn't just about Lena. The detectives trace the connections, and as they dig deeper, they find links to other cities, other victims, each one tied together by the same horrific fate. Women young, vulnerable, unsuspecting were being preyed upon, all part of an operation they never even saw coming. What Bobby had started as a small-scale operation was, in fact, part of a nationwide human trafficking ring, a network that had been targeting vulnerable women for years, using deception and manipulation to ensnare them into an underground world they never asked to be a part of. The emotional weight of this revelation hits the investigators hard. Lena, a woman with so much potential, had been a victim of this much larger scheme. And she wasn't the only one. The detectives are left grappling with the realization that they had only scratched the surface of something much bigger and far more dangerous than they had imagined. The magnitude of this operation stretches across states, leaving a trail of broken lives in its wake. But the true horror lies in the fact that so many of these women were never given a chance. They were taken without warning, without a trace, until it was too late. The pain Lena's family feels is amplified tenfold as they learn the true scale of the operation. How many others had suffered the same fate as their daughter? How many lives had been destroyed in the pursuit of profit? For Sandra, for Paul, for all who had loved Lena, this is not just about one woman. This is about the countless others who were left in the shadows, their voices unheard. Bobby wasn't the only one who needed to be brought to justice. This was just the beginning. The network was far from over, and the road ahead would reveal even more shocking truths. The arrest of Bobby Hayes was only the beginning of unraveling this dark, corrupt network. As the authorities dig deeper into the operation, they discover connections to powerful individuals, people with the means to hide their tracks, to stay out of the limelight. But the most chilling revelation was yet to come. There was one thing left to uncover, one final piece of the puzzle. Someone who had been pulling the strings all along. Someone who had stayed hidden, their identity cloaked in secrecy. Until now, the mastermind behind this entire operation had yet to be found. And they were still out there, waiting, watching. What would it take to bring the true mastermind to justice? And how much longer could they remain hidden in plain sight? The case was far from over. The hunt for the final piece of this puzzle would reveal secrets that no one could have imagined. Stay tuned, because the most shocking twist is still to come. Is Bobby just one link in a larger network of evil? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. I read and reply to every comment. Bobby Hayes had been arrested. But as the truth began to unfold, it left the community in disbelief. How could this seemingly upstanding businessman, someone trusted by so many, have operated so secretly for so long? For years, he had lived under the radar, his trafficking operation carefully hidden behind a veil of respectability. It was only when the investigation reached its boiling point that the true scale of his crimes came to light, an operation so widespread it had touched many lives, in ways the community never suspected. His arrest was only the beginning, but it still didn't make sense to most people. How had he maintained this facade? How had he escaped scrutiny for so long, despite his links to organized crime? The community, still grappling with the shock, was forced to confront an uncomfortable truth. They had been living side by side with someone who had been running a ruthless underground operation. But the bigger question remained, how deep did this network go, and who else was involved? The trial began, and the tension was palpable. Lena's family, Sandra and Paul, sat in the front row every day, watching the legal proceedings unfold. They had waited for this moment for so long. But the courtroom was a place of intense emotion, as the details of Lena's abduction and murder were laid bare. The prosecution was relentless, methodically presenting evidence that tied Bobby to the human trafficking ring and to Lena's murder. Forensic evidence, witness testimony, and the damning DNA found under Lena's fingernails, proof that she had fought for her life before it was taken. As each day of the trial passed, the weight of Lena's loss hung heavy in the air. Her family listened, numbly absorbing the truth they had waited so long to hear, but never wanted to. Bobby's defense team tried everything to discredit the evidence, but the case against him was undeniable. The more they tried to protect him, the more the truth came to light. And when the jury finally returned with their verdict, guilty of first-degree murder, kidnapping, and human trafficking, there was no doubt in anyone's mind. Justice had been served. But while justice had been done, it wasn't the kind of justice that could heal the pain Lena's family felt. Sandra, her mother, had endured years of sleepless nights, waiting for answers. Paul had fought tirelessly, refused to let go of the belief that his sister's death was not in vain. But as they walked out of the courtroom, convicted and sentenced to life without parole, it was clear that Lena's absence would forever haunt them. They had justice, but they would never have Lena back. The family left the courtroom with a bittersweet sense of relief. Relief that the man who had destroyed their world would never hurt anyone again. But relief couldn't erase the hole left in their hearts, the pain of knowing that the person who meant the most to them was gone forever. Bobby was convicted, but the real tragedy was everything Lena lost. Her dreams, her future, all gone. And the impact of that loss would last a lifetime. But just when it seemed like the case was coming to an end, there was one final, unexpected twist. Investigators uncovered one last piece of the puzzle, a shocking revelation that would leave everyone stunned. The investigation had been long, painful, and exhausting, but it wasn't over yet. There was something left, something that no one had anticipated, and something that would change everything. The final discovery was more disturbing than anyone could have imagined. As the last of Bobby's operations was uncovered, it became clear that there were still dark corners left unexplored. The investigation had solved the case of Lena's disappearance. But what they had yet to uncover was even more chilling. The mastermind behind this underground network who had kept the whole thing running, who had stayed hidden, was still out there. And they had just uncovered their first clue to who it might be. The story isn't over. The most shocking twist is yet to come. The real mastermind was still out there, and this discovery was just the beginning. Stay tuned. The final piece of the puzzle is about to be revealed. Lena's family finally gets justice, but the story isn't over yet. If you believe justice should always prevail, hit subscribe. Only the guilty hide from the truth. After years of heartache, of unanswered questions, and endless searching, Lena's family finally found some closure. The trial, the conviction, and the years of uncertainty had all led them to this moment. But the emotional scars left on her mother, Sandra, and her brother, Paul, would never fully heal. Though justice had been served, it didn't bring Lena back. Her family could finally say goodbye, lay her to rest, but the pain of her absence would linger forever. The grief was a constant companion to Sandra, the mother who had never stopped hoping, never stopped believing, even in the darkest days. She had set the dinner table every night, waiting for Lena's return. Now, that table sat empty. Paul, her brother, who had fought tirelessly, pushing for answers no matter how many roadblocks stood in his way, finally had the relief he had sought for so long. But he knew nothing would bring Lena back, and the town of Cleveland, once a place of peace and comfort, now carried the shadow of what had happened to Lena. The community had been shaken, realizing just how easily something so horrific could happen right under their noses. But this case, though solved, was only one example of a much larger problem. Lena's story, as tragic as it was, wasn't isolated. It was a part of a silent epidemic, a dark undercurrent that many didn't want to acknowledge. Human trafficking. Human trafficking, once dismissed as something that only happened in distant, unknown places, was here. It was happening in small towns, in neighborhoods that seemed safe, in communities where the horrors went unnoticed. Lena had been a target without even knowing it. A simple graphic design job, an innocent interaction, and she had become a pawn in a much darker game. Her death exposed a chilling truth, that so many other women could be targeted in the same way, with no warning, no signs to see. This wasn't just a story about one woman, it was a wake-up call for an entire community, for every community. Lena's story may have ended, but the lessons we've learned from it will help protect others from a similar fate. Lena's family, though scarred, now had the closure they desperately needed. They could finally put her memory to rest. Her story, which had once been filled with so much pain and uncertainty, would now be a story of advocacy, of raising awareness for something much larger than one single case. Lena's life, though tragically cut short, would not be forgotten. Her family, her friends, and even the community around her were forever changed by what had happened. But this was only the beginning. The case, once solved, had revealed the vast extent of an underground world many never wanted to believe existed. The fight for justice didn't end with Lena. It couldn't. There are more women out there, still waiting for their stories to be told, for justice to be served. There are still shadows lurking, and we must be vigilant. But Lena's story became a symbol. It wasn't just about one woman's tragic end, it was about the importance of never ignoring the signs, of paying attention to the world around us. Lena had been a graphic designer. She had no idea the kind of danger she was in, no clue that the work she thought was innocent could lead her into the heart of something so dark. Her story, her fight, was not in vain. Lena's death, as painful as it was, gave birth to a movement that continues today. By understanding what happened here, and knowing these steps, you can take control of your own family's safety. The lessons you're about to learn are more important than ever. Here's the lessons on how to make sure you don't become another tragic story. Lesson number 5. Stay aware of unsolicited offers. It's easy for someone to get caught up in what seems like a harmless situation, like a work opportunity or a simple job offer. Lena didn't know she was unknowingly connected to a human trafficking ring. Be cautious if a seemingly perfect opportunity seems too good to be true, especially if it's unsolicited. It's vital to trust your gut instincts and always research opportunities thoroughly before getting involved. Be especially wary of people who show too much interest in your personal life, work, or schedule. Lesson number 4. Always share your plans with someone you trust. Lena's family didn't know where she was when she went missing. No one knew exactly where she was going or who she was meeting. The lesson here is simple. Always let someone know where you're going, who you're meeting, and when you plan to return. Share your whereabouts regularly with someone close to you, especially when you're venturing into unfamiliar situations or meeting people you don't know well. Lesson number 3. Pay attention to changes in behavior. Human traffickers like Bobby Hayes often target people who may be going through personal struggles, such as loneliness, financial stress, or low self-esteem. If someone you love starts acting differently, whether withdrawing from family, behaving secretively, or suddenly changing their routine, this could be a red flag. Pay attention to these subtle signs and have open conversations about the possible dangers of exploitation, especially for those who are vulnerable. Lesson number 2. Look out for red flags in people you meet. In Lena's case, Bobby Hayes seemed like a normal businessman, hiding behind the facade of legitimacy. Human traffickers can sometimes be in plain sight, looking like ordinary, trustworthy individuals. Always be cautious of people who push boundaries, try to isolate you, or demand too much personal information. Stay alert when someone's behavior doesn't align with your intuition. Trusting people is important, but so is setting clear boundaries and listening to your gut. Lesson number 1. Trust law enforcement, but also be your own advocate. Even after Lena's disappearance, her family kept fighting. Paul's refusal to give up, despite the police hitting dead ends, was instrumental in keeping the case alive. Always follow up on investigations, keep advocating for your loved ones, and don't be afraid to take matters into your own hands if you suspect something isn't right. When it comes to missing persons, persistence is key. Stay engaged with the process, and if necessary, hire a private investigator or use social media to help spread awareness. Thank you for staying with us until the end. If you believe every missing person deserves justice, make sure to subscribe, like this video, share it with others, and comment, "I stand for justice." Let's keep fighting for the truth, because the next story could be one we can change together. Lena's story may have ended, but the lessons we've learned from it will help protect others from a similar fate. We owe it to her and to every other victim never to forget. We owe it to ourselves to stay vigilant, to keep pushing for justice, and to spread awareness. Because only through knowledge and action can we prevent this from happening again. Check our previous videos for more stories like this.